All right, so we have the STACYC 16eDRIVE 16 brushless version, and we've had it for a couple of weeks now since Renan's birthday, and we've noticed that the battery doesn't really last that long, does it? No. It does. It lasts long if it's on slow, but it doesn't last long when it's on the fast advanced mode, right? So yeah, we usually always have it on fast because he's got the track back here and he can go around it pretty good on fast. There goes Callan. The battery in that Peg Perego Gator actually lasts a really long time. I think it's probably to do with it being a lithium-ion. It's a lithium-ion battery in the the STACYC, and those Gators and stuff, and that little Jeep over there, and this Razor four-wheeler, which I'm glad's out here. This thing lasts forever, and the battery will run and run and run and run until it basically can't move anymore. Same thing with those little ride-ons. The batteries will just drain all the way down. So I really like when they do that because the kids feel as if, okay, I've got everything out of it. But when they run out of batteries with the STACYC, it's kind of like a drill, and it just stops working. And it'll even give us like error codes that makes us think something's wrong with the bike. So I'm not really like totally happy and satisfied about that. So it's like you really have to have several batteries at over $100-something a piece to, get the ride time out of these things. And then I think they even overheat if you just use them too much. Yeah, it overheats, right? So we got this fully charged STACYC 20-volt max battery, and I don't know which amp hour it is. I don't know if there's a difference or not. I read that there is a difference, but we're gonna throw it in there and then we'll time it on the advanced mode, right? So you're in advanced mode, so turn it on and let's see. Okay, all right, it says green, that means it's fully charged, right? Yeah. And it means it's in fast mode, I think. Go for a little spin and see if it's in fast mode. Oh, nice one. Yep, so it's in fast mode, so we'll get a good idea of how long it'll last. I'm gonna go start my timer. All right, so we did a little bit of action shot there. Renan showed you what he does with the bike. which is kind of like skid outs and locking the rear brake, like drifting around the corners, doing some jumps, little wheelies off of the jumps, a couple of wheelies in the grass. And the dirt is right now it's packed pretty hard. It's not wet. The wet dirt definitely has an effect on the battery life because it's got to push harder. So this dirt is as close to as or I guess you could say is least resistant as you're probably gonna get for dirt, unless it's like a clay BMX track or something. But obviously, these bikes, in my opinion, were made to be motorcycle training tools and motocross training things. So being that they have dirt style tires and they're sold in power sports stores, I don't quite vibe with the idea of them being used on concrete, which I think I heard some people say. So that seems absurd to me. If I had concrete around here, my kid would be on a BMX bike, and the STACYC I just would think would rip too hard for the concrete maybe. But anyways, so we're nearing the end of the battery life now, and I got to go get my stopwatch because I think it's going to start beeping at us here very, very shortly. So while we're waiting for Renan's battery to run out on STACYC, just did a cool little skid over there. I'm going to show you this old Razor four-wheeler that we picked up used for $100. And you doing donuts? That's cool. Do it again. All right, so he's got the order to ride until it dies over there because he's going to switch to the Razor four-wheeler and keep it on two wheels over there, Buster. So it's kind of upsetting, in my opinion, that we spent $800 on the 16-inch STACYC, and the battery, to me, doesn't last nearly as long as it should for that price. So this Razor four-wheeler, the reason I'm pointing it out is because I think these are $300-400 new, and while nowhere near as fast as a STACYC, that looked like it hurt. So like I was saying, this Razor four-wheeler, I think it's 24 volts. We bought it for $100 used. It was kept in decent condition. It works really well. It is not by any means as fast as the STACYC, but this thing will last a long time, and the kids have a lot of fun on it too. So that's kind of upsetting to me that we spent so much money on a STACYC and then so little money on this, and the kids' fun to value ratio on it is pretty close. I mean, the STACYC brings a smile to his face and he does wacky stuff on it, and he's already on a Pee-wee and he's good at riding the Pee-wee. So he thinks the STACYC's pretty fun because it's light, and he's been on a balance bike since 18 months, and that's kind of like the next evolution of balance biking for him. Well, that's what happens when you do stuff like Nitro Circus. All right, you want to explain what happened there?
Yeah.
What happened?
I fell, and I twisted my back.
You twisted your back?
Yeah.
Oh yeah? So you okay?
Yeah.
Are you gonna still ride?
No.
You done for the day?
Yeah.
You gotta go to the hospital?
Yeah.
Oh, you look okay to me. So obviously he has a lot of fun on the STACYC. It's one of those more smiles to the gallon than miles to the gallon sort of thing, like they say for cars now. And for him, he doesn't quite understand like batteries and why it wouldn't last as long, and it's this fast because of this reason. So for him, it's just like he wants it to work all day. And I mean, you'd have to have a fleet of batteries for that to happen, which, you know, obviously at 100 something a piece, you're looking at over $1,000 for the bike and 2 batteries. So that's edging up on Pee Wee 50 territory. Pee Wee 50s are like $1,900 out the door. So I mean, for the price of 2 STACYCs, 2 batteries for each one, you're looking at Pee Wee 50 territory, which you know, obviously is where you'd want your kids to end up if they're starting on these STACYCs, because they'd go from the STACYC to the Pee Wee 50. So we just realized something just broke on the bike. Renan slid out and the little light cover just fell off. So that's kind of a bummer. Turn it off, that light is blinding me. So that's weird how that just kind of popped out, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Kind of seems like maybe it should be a super glue type of thing, right?
Yeah, let's shoot that.
All right, let's try to do that.
Do you have super glue?
All right, so we brought it in the shop, super glue it, but we don't have super glue, so we're just gonna leave it open for the time being until I have super glue, because I don't want to lose it out in the dirt, which would surely happen. So let's go back out and ride.
What if it blinds me?
If it blinds you, well, don't look at it. Okay, so let's go get the stopwatch. So show us real quick what's going on. All right, so we have a flashing red. So we can go check the manual and see what that means. Let's go check the manual. Okay, we're back in the shop. I got out the manual here. The STACYC manual for both the 12 and the 16. It's funny, it comes with the spare fuse as well. So obviously that's a problem. So we're looking here at our error code, which was the flashing red, which is a temperature error. Reset by turning the power switch off then back on. Change riding conditions and ride on flat ground to cool down cycle. Okay, so it's telling me to turn it off and back on again. I work in IT, it sounds very familiar. And then just go ride on some flat ground. So basically go out to the street and ride around to cool the cycle down, and then wear your battery out even more. So yeah, that's not going to happen. And then if it's a flashing yellow, it's a electronic speed control overload error. Reset by turning the power switch off and then back on again. So look, we're basically looking at turning stuff off and back on again. All right, so our grand total is 22 minutes, almost 23 minutes, but he actually stopped a few times during that session, and it wasn't all out. It wasn't just full on riding. So and there he goes on the razor, the old backup, the old trusty backup. So it's as janky as can be, but when the STACYC runs out, he sure jumps on that and has a good time too. But so we're looking at 22, I'd say like 21, 22 minutes on a advanced setting on good packed dirt. Not much resistance. Obviously you saw the way he rides, which is pretty rough, but I think that's how all the kids are going to end up riding them once they get used to him. So if you get a STACYC and you're saying, well, mine lasts 45 minutes or mine lasts an hour, well, once your kid starts riding like this on this surface, then you're going to find the battery life is going to go down drastically. Okay, so we're back in the shop, and the eDRIVE 16, obviously we just went over how the battery lasted 22 minutes, and this has been a problem. Well, I don't even know if it's a problem, but it's a problem for me being a parent when I spend $800 and the battery doesn't last more than a half hour. When the day we got it, I think it lasted a good 30 to 40 minutes. So now we're just a couple weeks into owning it, and it's down to 20 minutes before it gives an overheat error. And we've had it do that basically on the first day. So the battery, I think, gets too hot, and you can't just throw it back on the charger when it's too hot, because then the charger gives an error. I'll show you that right now. Okay, so we're going to throw it on the STACYC 18 volt charger that comes with it. Let's see with the light flashing red. Flashing red means that it has a temperature thing there, so that means the battery's too hot. So you have to take it back off the charger, and then I usually set it on something metal or something cold, which beer fridge works good, and wait for it to cool down and then charge it back up, because if you were to throw it back on the bike, you might get a couple minutes more runtime, but that's just going to be frustrating for the kids, because then they think it's fully charged, and if you're a parent, you already know about these woes. So they expect things to work all the time, and work for a long time. And that's probably the biggest complaint about the STACYC that I have.